The San Francisco 49ers schedule is about to drop this week. Even though we already know home and away, we're going to find out all the ins and outs of the NFL schedule coming up on Thursday. What we're going to do is we're going to analyze the schedule. We're going to talk about some news, some notes from over the weekend, and some new signings. All that good stuff coming up right after this. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. What is going down, SDS? I hope you guys had a phenomenal weekend. No draft to look forward to anymore, but we got the schedule release looking at us right down the pipe. Coming on Thursday, I think what they say 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The schedule will be released. As we know, the schedule release day is like the Super Bowl for content teams around the league. See who could come up with the most creative schedule release hype video. We're going to see what the NFL brings, and of course, what the San Francisco 49ers bring to the table. But before we really get into the schedule and we start looking ahead at that type of stuff, let's talk about some signings that were announced today. We had the San Francisco 49ers announce 3 players were signed. We know that Brandon Allen, it was reported last week that the San Francisco 49ers were going to sign the quarterback, journeyman. But they also added 2 additional players, defensive lineman Marlon Davidson and tight end Troy Fumagalli. Marlon Davidson is an interesting player considering that he's a former second round draft pick. He was selected in the top 50 by the Atlanta Falcons just in 2020. So, what was it? 2020 he was selected 47th overall. So, there's talent there. I mean, you would have to assume so. I don't know a whole ton about Marlon Davidson, the defensive tackle, but to be selected pick 47, you got to have something. So it is going to be interesting to see if the San Francisco 49ers can get the best out of him. Hopefully that is the case. But for the handful of plays that I've seen of him, he had one really nice interception that he brought back to the house that he picked off of Tom Brady back when Tom Brady was still slinging the rock with the Tampa Bay Bucks. So he's had some production, not a whole lot, but it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the table. And of course, more D-line depth. Sign me up for that. The San Francisco 49ers also brought back a familiar face in tight end Troy Fumagalli. Fumagalli was in training camp last year with the San Francisco 49ers, and he was on the practice squad for about half the year. Then they released him from the practice squad, but he is back again for training camp. Again, none of these signings really are big time needle movers, but we understand what it is. A lot of camp depth needed with OTAs coming up right around the corner and with training camp not too far away. So the San Francisco 49ers have rounded out their 90-man roster. We also know that they're going to be having some players come in for rookie minicamp on a tryout basis. They're bringing in XFL quarterback to come sling the rock a little bit. I think it's Steven Montez is his name. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes of that. But we do know the 49ers needed some camp arms, so no real shocker there in regards to what we got cooking. Obviously, last week we had heard a ton about Debo Samuel was back in the news yet again for bringing up the good old Philadelphia Eagles. And of course, Eagles fans love it every single time we talk about that NFC Championship game, including the 49ers players when they talk about it. They get all in there. they they love talking about that particular game, and which is going to play into some of the scheduling stuff, because guess what? The San Francisco 49ers are heading back to Philly. We just got to figure out when and where. So that is going to be absolutely fascinating to see play out. I can't wait for all that good stuff. Obviously, Sam Darnold was in the news quite a bit last week um, for random reasons. One was because he was sitting courtside with Kittle and CMC at the Warriors playoff game. And then you had kind of Matt Mayoko. I don't think he did it on purpose, but inadvertently started up a little bit because, as we know, the San Francisco 49ers quarterback conversation is a divisive one. And we know it's not very popular at all to say anything nice about Sam Darnold. So when you elicit the 49ers greats against Sam Darnold, it's going to create quite the vacuum of conversation, which is exactly what had happened. But nonetheless, it makes for exciting off-season content that we're constantly talking about these these random things. But anyways, let's talk about some schedule stuff. Let's get into it. Um, so we know what the home and away opponents are going to be for the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, we know who they're going to play in division. No surprise there. And we also know who they're going to play away in division. No surprise there. When you look at the home games, you're going to have a rematch of the divisional round playoff game versus the Dallas Cowboys. I'm definitely looking forward to that particular game. Always looking to play Dallas. Um, also, some teams we haven't faced in a while. New York Giants. I'm just going back in my memory, which isn't that great. I will be perfectly honest. Um, I believe the last time we played the New York Giants was at MetLife in 2020. Uh, I can't remember if it was that game. I think it was the Giants game. I think we had Giants Jets back to back. And that was we lost Solomon Thomas and Nick Bosa in the span of like 3 plays. I think that might have I can't remember if that was Jets. I think that was Jets. Oh, I can't remember. Getting them mixed up, but I think that was the last time I can think back to when we played the Giants. It was just an injury fest on that field over there. But obviously, a lot has changed with the Giants, and they have gotten a lot better. They got the Coach of the Year right now, and they've got Daniel Jones signed to a fresh new contract. They brought in talent and surrounded the New York Giants quarterback with some talent. They brought in Jalen Hyatt with a high draft pick, wide receiver out of Tennessee. They brought back Saquon Barkley. So the New York matchup, I think, is going to be an interesting one. I think that one at home, you would assume that the 49ers take care of business, but I think, hey, I'm not going to sleep on the New York Giants. They've gotten better, and I'm looking forward to the challenge that they bring. They also just signed their interior defensive lineman Dexter Lawrence to a massive contract extension. So I'm looking forward to that matchup with the Giants. That's going to be a good one because I do think the Giants got exponentially better, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that matchup looks like. Also, uh, the guy that we've actually had to spend time talking about Lamar Jackson on our airwaves, and Lamar Jackson will be coming to the Bay Area, and this is one that I'm looking for because that's gonna be a return of OBJ. They drafted Zay Flowers, one of my favorite prospects, never within reach for the 49ers, but he's a phenomenal wide receiver out of Boston College. And they've got Bateman. They traded for DeAndre Swift. So that offense is going to be a very, very interesting one. And that's going to make for a great matchup for the San Francisco 49ers and their defense, because obviously you've got Lamar plus weapons, which is going to be, I think, a potentially high scoring game. It's going to be really interesting, of course, too, to see how this defense matches up with a quarterback like Lamar Jackson. So definitely looking forward to that particular matchup. That one's going to be a good one. And then this one we know is going to be good. Uh, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow coming to town. And Swift went to the Eagles. You're absolutely correct. Who am I tripping? Who went to I got my bird teams mixed up. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I got my bird teams mixed up. Um, but with the Bengals and Joe Burr, that one is going to be also another fascinating matchup because they have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Our good friend Trent Taylor is over on that squad. And it's going to be very interesting to see that particular matchup. We know the last time that the San Francisco 49ers played them in 2021 was the thrilling overtime win at the Bengals. And again, that's who we were hoping to see in the Super Bowl, not to bring it back up, but we just couldn't get past the Rams in the NFC Championship game. And felt like the 49ers could have taken care of business. But we also are going to have the Tampa Bay Bucks come to town, but this time with no Tom Brady. You're going to have Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask battling it out for quarterback one status of Tampa Bay. If you guys remember, with Tom Brady, absolutely dismantled the Bucks. That was Brock Purdy's first ever start. It came at home against the Bucks and absolutely motorboated Tampa Bay back to Florida. So the home opponents, I like. I think they're going to present very good matchups for different reasons. But I would say the New York Giants are a playoff team, Cowboys playoff team, Ravens playoff team, Bengals playoff team, and Seahawks playoff team. So 5 home opponents going to be scratching and clawing for the playoffs. I'll take it. I think those are good opponents to have at home with 49ers faithful behind this team. But of course, doesn't end there. The San Francisco 49ers are going to hit the road, and we know in division where they're going. But outside of division, I think this is going to be one of the most highly anticipated games of the entire year for the entire NFL. I don't think it's just 49er fans or Eagles fans. I really do think 49ers versus Eagles, it has to be prime time. Has to be prime time television, and it has to be a marquee game. A Monday night, potentially the first one of the first primetime games of the year we could see come down to 49ers versus Eagles again, just to get the season off, in the right direction. We'd have all off season to work towards and talk about the opening night matchup between the 49ers and the Eagles, the rematch of the NFC Championship game, the 49ers with a quarterback this time, all the trash talk. I mean, again, this matchup was back in the news last week because Deebo Samuel talked about it in a complex interview, and we had Eagles and 49ers fans going back at it yet again. So I think 49ers versus Eagles has to be prime time, and I think it has to be earlier in the year. I think having it later in the year would probably be better quality football for both teams. Because as we know, I always say this, the first like 4 to 5 weeks of an NFL season is it's the preseason for the starters. It's where the starters really get to iron everything out. Play callers understand who they have and how to call what they want with what they have. The first 4 to 5 weeks are always going to be the preseason for the starters, so teams are still trying to get it figured out. Um, but I would like to see that one uh, be prime time early, but we'll see. We'll find out on Thursday what the NFL is cooking up with the schedules. And we know, I think back to, all the issues with Deshaun Watson and everything that Deshaun Watson went through, and how he got the random 11-game suspension, and how his first game back just so happened to be against the Houston Texans. Um, the NFL is very aware of storylines and things like that, and how to drum up ratings because this is an entertainment industry. So, going to be fascinating to see how they rank and basically how they package 49ers versus Eagles, because that's going to be a spicy one. I'm looking forward to that one. 49ers played the Commanders at home last year on Christmas Eve. This year, they will be traveling to the Commanders without Dan Snyder. Obviously, the Commanders, they're going to be trying out Sam Howell at quarterback. They brought in Brissett. They still got Scary Terry. Jahan Dotson's going to be taking a step forward. Robinson and their other running back, who I own in half of my dynasty leagues, who just one of those days apparently. Um, Antonio Gibson, there we go. So they have pretty solid offense and of course defense. They re-signed Daron Payne. They've got Jonathan Allen. They didn't pick up the fifth-year option of their young defensive end, Chase Young, and they got Montez Sweat. They got a good defense. So I think they'll be positioned to be better when we play them than we played them this year. But that's going to be an interesting matchup on the road. That could be a trap game for sure for the 49ers. 49ers will also be going to play the Browns in Cleveland. A lot of obviously outside of the Jags, but you got like East Coast northern teams. The 49ers are going to be going to Cleveland. I guess I got to decide if I'm going to Cleveland too. I don't know. I definitely want to go to the Steelers game. That one's going to be interesting. Go to Heinz Field. I don't think they call it Heinz Field anymore. But they got a young roster full of talent. I think they improved this offseason. So the Steelers is going to be an interesting matchup. And of course, always an interesting matchup when the 49ers play the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins leading the way. I also want to go to that game. I might just have to go to all of them. I haven't decided yet. I got to pick and choose what the away slate is going to be looking like. That's why I'm really excited about kind of this end of year, or not end of year, but schedule release on Thursdays. I'm kind of excited to see how I could maybe plan some away trips. So we'll see how that all plays out. And then, of course, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was rumored that the Jags could potentially be playing the 49ers maybe overseas in London, but I saw a bunch of tweets from 49ers beat reporters that made it seem like that wasn't going to be the case. So feels like they're telling us without actually telling us. So I'll take their word for it that probably the 49ers won't be going to London. Um, Also would have loved another Mexico trip for the 49ers, but doesn't sound like that's in the books either. So doesn't seem like we're going to get any um doesn't seem like we're going to get any overseas games or anything like that. But I still see on this schedule quite a bit of prime time potential. I mean, Dallas versus 49ers, that could be prime time easily. Seahawks versus 49ers, those could both of those games could be prime time because they could those seems like the games that they'll put at the end of the year that could basically play out for who wins division. Those feel like they could be at least one primetime game, 49ers versus Seattle. N- Giants versus 49ers feels like it could be a prime time. Ravens versus 49ers prime time. Bengals versus 49ers prime time. It feels like a lot of the primetime games land at home, because honestly, Joe Burr, of course, the Dallas Star, Lamar Jackson, and of course, the New York media market, number one media market, feels like they have the makings of potential primetime games. The away, like I said, Philly's got to be a prime time. I could see potentially Steelers prime time, maybe even Vikings prime time. So I would, if I had to put a prediction on it, I would predict that the San Francisco 49ers are going to be at the top of the list with primetime games heading into next season. So they typically land around 5, 6 primetime games a year. Um, I remember in 2020, I think they had 5 primetime games and they got stripped of like three of them because they weren't winning football games and no one wanted to see 49ers that year. So they got flexed out a bunch. But I do see the San Francisco 49ers playing a ton in prime time this year. And I also see a manageable schedule. I don't see something that is just like and again, we'll see how it all stacks together. But I love the opponents that they got at home. I think their toughest opponents they're going to play at home, for the most part. I think Philly's going to be a tough matchup. Steelers going to be tough. Jags is going to be interesting to see what kind of fight they give. And of course, Minnesota, I think they match up well there. But I think the toughest games come at home. So that's good sign for the 49ers. And some of these battles that they're going to get on the road, I think are manageable. Looking at Washington, Browns, Cardinals, Rams, those ones feel like W's this early in the off season. But again, we'll do full blown uh, season predictions, all that type of stuff, all the things that I love to do. Um, Not a I've said this before and I'll say it again, I'm not a huge fan of schedule predictions, but hey, we get sucked into doing them every single year. The reason why I don't like doing them is because the NFL is so NFL seasons evolve so much from the start to the end that it's like how do you genuinely predict it because there's so many injuries, there's so many things that happen, trades, et cetera, et cetera. So uh, it will be it'll be interesting to see what the schedule stacks up like. But all things considered, I see a schedule that the San Francisco 49ers can manage and get into the playoffs with. So, that being said, I do see this as a 10 plus wins schedule and the 49ers picking right back up where they left off. And obviously, we got to figure out who's going to be steering that ship. But all things considered, I think the San Francisco 49ers find themselves in a really, really good spot moving forward. So I think it's good. I think it's a good place to be for the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers find themselves in yet again another situation where wins will be able to they'll be able to come by, and they'll be able to of course have their trap games, but they're also come away with a bunch of dubs as well. So I don't know about you guys. What do you think the schedule is turning out to be? Do you think the 49ers are going to find themselves in the playoffs again? Do you feel like this is a harder schedule? Do you feel like this is a manageable schedule? What are your particular thoughts on what the San Francisco 49ers got cooking? Um, I think the 49ers again, I agree with Debo. I think the 49ers have the best roster in the NFL. And so that's going to translate to dubs. So for sure, looking forward to that. I think we do know. I think we do know. I know the Raiders is one of them. And the 49ers have talked about doing joint practice with the Raiders in Las Vegas. So I know that much. Let me double check though. Uh let's see. I'm not seeing anything. But I do know about the Raiders one. That will still definitely be announced when it's time to go though. But we'll see when it's all said and done. Uh it's going to be a great joint practices though. Jimmy Garoppolo in a Raiders uniform going against the 49ers defense. Oh, that's gonna be must see TV. Can't wait for that. Can't wait for that. I know I saw something with the preseason released but it's not popping up right now. Um Bobby says, I think we'll have a 10 plus win season, but that schedule is a little bit tougher this season, but manageable, especially with the group we got. Bang, bang, Niner gang. I don't disagree with Bobby at all. Schedules are always a crapshoot. Teams get better than that we didn't expect, and also teams fall off that we didn't expect. That's why these schedule predictions at the beginning of the year, I always take them with a grain of salt just because you don't really know which teams are taking steps forward and which teams are taking steps backwards. But still, I still expect the San Francisco 49ers to keep stepping in the right direction. I don't expect a fall off from the 49ers. Now, we know the 49ers can start slow. Um, that is something that they've done a couple times in recent memory, under especially with Kyle Shanahan. So it's definitely a possibility. But again, we'll see what the schedule looks like. and we'll keep all things open moving forward. I'm ready to beat the Seahawks, so that's for sure. Need another sweep of the Hawks. It would be phenomenal if the 49ers could sweep the division 2 years in a row and just really establish divisional dominance over the Rams, Cardinals, and Seahawks. So definitely would love to see all that for sure. Sweep the division. It's ours. It's ours. Shout out Don Burr says Detroit versus everybody. Oh, we coming and they don't like that. Like it. F a mock draft and big board, positional value, etc. See talent, get talent. Uh I'm gonna not because I like you, Don, but people big time hating on what the Detroit Lions put together. I'm not in that same boat. I think the Detroit, they took a middle linebacker in the first round. You took Jamari Gibbs in the first round, higher than people anticipated. But you also flip Swift right away, so clearly there was a plan in place. And you got Herndon Hooker, and I don't know why people hating on both our drafts, by the way. It's not just Detroit. People did not like when you look at the grades around the league, San Francisco 49ers got cooked. I think in a Yahoo grade that they did of the draft, Detroit got an F, and I think we got a D minus or something like that. So we were the least to um people didn't like our drafts, basically, is what it came down to. But doesn't matter. We're going to show them why those grades don't matter at all. Um, so we'll see. As always, we'll tuck the receipt. We'll save it for a rainy day, and then when the time is right, we will unleash all the receipts that we got. So, you know, we're stacking for a rainy day. They could say all they want because it's just it's more content for us later down the road. Always comes in handy. Um, so we'll see. But the 49ers again control their own destiny. That's the one thing that I like about where the 49ers are at right now. Um, s- Again, I know a lot of fans don't love the continuous questions about the quarterback, but regardless of the perception of the quarterback, the San Francisco 49ers have built their roster to compete with anyone in the NFL. So they are dangerously close to be able to be any team in the NFL with a potato at quarterback. So I joke about that all the time. You get good enough players on your defensive line, you get good enough players on your defense, you get good enough skill positions, you get good enough offensive line. I joke about it all the time. If you get good in all the positions around the quarterback, at a certain point, you could have a potato be your quarterback, and the potato will win many games. So I don't think they're on the brink of having a potato be a quarterback and go all the way. Um, we're going to see how the 49ers offensive line does with Colton McKivitz at right tackle. I think they'll do just fine. We'll see how the 49ers tight end battle is going to come into shape. We'll see how the safeties are looking. We'll see how the linebackers are looking, defensive line, and all that good stuff. And if they can get some good push on that D line, Potato could win it all for the 49ers. So luckily, I do think all three quarterbacks that we do have are better than Potatoes. So that's it's a good starting spot. Even even I think Sam Darnold is better than a Potato. I think Trey Lance is better than a Potato. I think Brock Purdy is better than Potato. So we're in good shape. We're in a good spot. One of those quarterbacks is going to get the job done. We just don't know who yet. So I'm excited for it. I'm ready to get back to the football grind for sure. This has definitely been an off season for the books. Definitely not an off season. It's an on season because we have been on since the game has come to an end in Philadelphia, because it's just been ongoing everything. But we're close. We're close. And yes, we will be watching training camp like crazy. Shout out to everyone hopping in. Yeah, man. Going to be a good one. Next step, though, is rookie minicamp. Rookie minicamp, schedule release, off-season program. Then we get a break, and then it will be training camp at the end of July. And you guys already know the end of July will be here quicker than we can even anticipate, and we'll be ready to go. So looking forward to it. And all that good stuff. Just came across a post NFL draft power rankings by PFF, and PFF has the San Francisco 49ers ranked 3rd. So again, it's not a great problem to have, but the fact that the 49ers still are unsure of their quarterback and are widely regarded as a top 3 roster in the NFL, depending on like really whatever publication you want to look towards, the 49ers are going to continuously find themselves in the top 5 of rosters in the NFL. So it's a good spot to be in. They got their kicker. They got their safety of the future. They got tight ends for days, linebackers. 49ers do what 49ers do. All righty, y'all. Shout out to everyone for tapping in today. We're going to keep it lightweight short, even though 40 minutes is still a decent amount of time. But shout out to everyone for tapping in. Stay tuned. Efforting to get a couple players on this week. Looks like we got one locked up. Gonna try to make it 2. So stay tuned this week for some additional 49ers players interviews. And we're going to be on alert for schedule release on Thursday, and all that good stuff. So we'll see. Shout out to everyone, as always, for tapping in. I'm out of here for now. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see